Imagine a man who woke up at exactly 5 a.m. every single morning, who walked the same route every single day, who never traveled more than 10 miles from his hometown his entire life, who never married, who never had children, who spent 80 years in the same city. The neighbors used to set their clocks by his daily walk. He was so precise, so predictable, so routine, that people called him the human clock. But this same man, this boring, routine, predictable man, wrote ideas so powerful that they shook the entire foundation of human thinking. Every philosopher after him had to start over because of one man who never left his city. This is the story of Immanuel Kant, and once you understand what he discovered, you will never trust your own mind again. Immanuel Kant was born on April 22, 1724, in Königsberg, Prussia, a small, cold city near the Baltic Sea. His family was deeply religious. His father worked with his hands every single day. His mother was a woman of extraordinary intelligence who, despite having no formal education herself, recognized something unusual in her young son and made sure he received the best education the city could offer. She died when Kant was just 13 years old, and her loss stayed with him forever. He later said that everything good in him came from his mother. Every value, every discipline, every hunger for truth. She planted it all before she left, and that hunger never left him. Not for a single day for the rest of his life. Kant studied at the University of Königsberg, where he quickly stood apart from every other student around him. He studied physics, mathematics, philosophy, theology, and science all at once. After graduating, he spent years working as a private tutor for wealthy families while continuing his own research late into the night. It was a humble life, quiet, disciplined, exactly the kind of life Kant seemed built for. He finally became a professor at the University of Königsberg at the age of 46, and for the next 27 years, he taught there every single day. The same university, the same city, the same routine. But inside that quiet, disciplined exterior, something extraordinary was building. A revolution. Not in the streets, not in the courts. Inside the human mind itself. To understand what Kant discovered, you need to understand the problem he was trying to solve. For centuries, the greatest philosophers in history had been fighting over one question. How do we know what is real? One side said everything comes from experience. You are born with an empty mind and the world fills it. The other side said no. Some knowledge exists inside you before any experience. Both sides had brilliant arguments. Both sides had brilliant philosophers. And for hundreds of years, neither side could defeat the other. Then, Kant arrived, and he said something that stopped everyone cold. He said, "You are both right, and you are both wrong." And with those words, he ended a debate that had lasted for centuries and started an entirely new conversation that the world had never had before. What Kant realized was something so simple and so devastating that it changed everything forever. He said, "We never experience reality directly, ever. What we experience is always reality filtered through our own minds. Your eyes do not show you the world as it actually is. They show you light waves that your brain interprets. Your ears do not hear sound as it actually exists. They detect vibrations that your brain translates. Every single thing you have ever experienced in your entire life, every color, every sound, every emotion, every memory, is not the world itself. It is your mind's version of the world. The real world, what Kant called the thing in itself, is completely beyond your reach. You can never touch it, never see it, never truly know it. All you ever know is what your mind shows you, and your mind has been shaping your reality every single second of your life without you ever realizing it. Think about that for a moment. Everything you believe about the world, everything you are certain about, everything you would argue for and defend and fight for, is filtered, is shaped, is constructed by a mind you never chose and cannot fully control. But Kant went even further.
He said that space and time are not things that exist outside of you. Space and time are the structures your mind uses to organize experience. Without a human mind perceiving them, space and time as we understand them simply do not exist. This was not just a philosophical idea. This was a bomb dropped into the middle of everything humanity thought it understood. Every scientist, every theologian, every philosopher had assumed that space and time were simply out there, part of the universe, waiting to be discovered. Kant said, no, they are inside you. They are the lenses through which your mind sees everything. And this single idea would directly inspire Albert Einstein more than 100 years later when he developed his theory of relativity. One philosopher, sitting in a small cold city, who never left home, who walked the same street every day, changed the course of modern physics without ever setting foot in a laboratory. In 1781, at the age of 57, Kant published his masterpiece, The Critique of Pure Reason. He had been working on it for 11 years. 11 years of thinking, writing, rewriting, questioning every assumption he had ever made. The book was dense, difficult, almost impossibly complex. Most people who tried to read it gave up within the first few pages, but the philosophers who pushed through it were shaken to their core. Because Kant had done something nobody had ever done before. He had turned philosophy inward. Instead of asking what is the world, he asked what is the mind that perceives the world. And in doing so, he created an entirely new way of thinking about human knowledge, about science, about God, about morality, about everything that matters. But Kant was not just interested in knowledge. He was deeply interested in morality, in how human beings should treat each other. And here, he made his second great contribution to human thought. He said that morality cannot be based on consequences. You cannot say something is right because it produces good results. Because results can be manipulated, results can be twisted, results can be used to justify anything. Instead, Kant said there is one universal moral law, one rule that applies to every human being in every situation throughout all of history. He called it the categorical imperative, and it was breathtakingly simple. Before you do anything, ask yourself, what if everyone did this? If everyone lied, the world would collapse. Therefore, lying is wrong, always, without exception, no matter the situation, no matter the consequences. This single idea became the foundation of modern human rights, the belief that every human being has dignity, has worth, has rights that cannot be taken away, regardless of any circumstance. Kant lived until he was 79 years old. In his final years, his mind began to fade. The man who had dedicated his entire life to the power of human reason slowly lost his ability to reason. He forgot the names of his closest friends. He could not finish sentences. The greatest philosophical mind of his century was slowly going dark. He died on February 12th, 1804. His last words were simply, "It is good, quiet, dignified, exactly like the man himself." The entire city of Königsberg came to his funeral. Thousands of people standing in the cold winter to say goodbye to the man who had never left their city, who had walked their streets every single day for 80 years, who had sat in their university and quietly rewritten the rules of human thought without ever making a sound. After his death, the world slowly began to understand what Kant had actually done. Every major philosopher who came after him, Hegel, Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, Marx, Heidegger, all of them were responding to Kant, agreeing with him, disagreeing with him, building on him, but none of them could ignore him, because he had changed the rules of the game entirely. Modern democracy, human rights, scientific method, the way we think about consciousness and perception and reality itself. All of it carries the fingerprints of one man who woke up at 5 a.m. every morning, walked the same street every day, and never once left his hometown. The lesson that philosophy of successful people wants to leave with you today is this: you do not need to travel the world to change it. You do not need wealth or power or fame or connections. What you need is depth, focused, disciplined, relentless depth. Kant proved that the most revolutionary journey a human being can take is not across oceans or continents. It is inward, into the mind itself, into the assumptions you have never questioned, into the reality you have always taken for granted.
So, the next time you feel like you are not doing enough, not going far enough, not seeing enough, remember Kant. Remember the man who changed the world from the same street corner every single day, and ask yourself, how deep am I willing to go? Subscribe to Philosophy of Successful People, because here every single week, we go deep inside the lives of the greatest minds who ever lived. Not just to learn history, but to find the wisdom that changes how you think today. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and join thousands of deep thinkers who are done living on the surface. See you in the next story.